Chinese couple returned to Venezuela to lead the local volunteers in relieving the poor. Seeing those in hardship has made this volunteer walk the Bodhisattva path for almost half a century. Welcome to DaAi Headlines, I'm Simon Gan. Thank you for joining us. Due to political unrest in Venezuela, inflation is very high. Thus, daily necessities are hard to come by for poor residents. There was a Chinese couple who had opened a store locally, but due to the economic crisis, they had to close it and return to China. In June, the couple came back to lead the local volunteers in relieving the poor.
Local volunteers of Venezuela drive towards the school in the slum area for an aid distribution. When they reach the destination, they hurry to unload the 8 items, as a total of 33 packs of goods, will help the impoverished families get through the difficult days ahead. The unstable economy of Venezuela is worse this year, as inflation has been at an all-time high. Originally, Liu Yannuan and his wife had closed their shop in the country last year and returned to China, but their hearts remained in the country. Thus, in June this year, Liu Yannuan returned to continue leading the local volunteers in doing Tzu Chi and helping the poor. Volunteers also distributed aid items to orphanages and impoverished students in October and November. The local volunteers who have helped Mr. and Mrs. Liu with Tzu Chi's volunteer mission in the past have continued helping the couple spread love and warmth in this volatile country.
Tzu Chi volunteers went to the Republic of Sierra Leone to care for the residents. There, they met a girl who has deformed feet but still walks 2 kilometers to school every day. Let's take a look.
This is a community surrounded by mountains, but the bare hills are full of crises. There must be mudslide in every rainy season.
They will mix bigger stones with soil to form a base. After that, they will make the floor. They will break the stones into smaller pieces. They can also be artificial.
Digging the hills is the only way for them to earn their living. Caritas Foundation deliberately set up a school here, hoping to change their fate through education.
So that we are able to support those young women who need to understand how they should be able to learn and become practical for themselves. Instead of hanging on the beach, we're training them to become tailors so they can make dresses and sell and make money out of it.
This girl has deformed feet, yet she still walks for 2 kilometers to school every day.
The mother is not walking, she is only picking up stones for the community, around the community, and then she will sell.
Experiencing poverty and illness simultaneously, volunteers feel mercy for her. They want to give her a crutch and plan to bring her back to Taiwan to undergo surgery.
This crutch should be made adjustable so it can still be adjusted as she grows up. All these features can be done.
Through the power of charity, it is believed that the present helplessness can be changed. The 7-year-old John is the best example.
Are you happy here? Do you make a lot of friends? Yes?
He smiles happily, yet his nickname carries the cruelty of the past.
Yes, when we call him, we say, "What's your name?" He said, "Survived." You know, at the building site there, they used to call him. When they see him come around, they say, "Oh, survived, survived." Everybody used to survive. I mean, he survived the Ebola.
When Ebola happened, his parents passed away. People in the community worried that he would have been infected with Ebola. They tied him to the road with a chain. It was the sister and the priest who brought him to St. Mary Fatima home.
Do you still have these clothes? Yes?
Because of the Ebola epidemic and mudslides, the number of orphans in the community has been increasing. The St. Mary's Fatima home has accommodated them. Yet only through changes can they see the hope of the community.
The Hegang Elementary School in Hualien, which is a major Army's tribal school, has recently completed some traditional buildings to help retain the culture and to pass on the lineage. Let's take a look at the grand completion ceremony.
The Amis village chief offers gratitude to the heavens for the completion of the newest structure at the Hegang Elementary School. The lighting ceremony is symbolic of learning from the past and continuing to pass on the lineage. As the traditional Amis structure erected at the Hegang Elementary is in hopes of never forgetting their own cultural heritage.
到外面上课跟教室里面上课，认识的知识可以再多一点，像是编织、竹杯，然后还有那个原住民的野菜。
The students also performed traditional dance to celebrate the remodeling of the school campus, which includes a cultural square, an area to raise animals, an eco pond, and a straw hut for resting. There are also new lessons to motivate the students' learning.
The tribal elders and chief are supportive of this, as they are willing to return to the school to teach what they know to the little ones, so the next generation can learn by their mother tongue, which helps them to relate to their background and culture.
It is hoped through the construction of this traditional Amis building and the special lessons, the children with tribal background will be inspired to learn more about themselves and continue passing on this special lineage.
It has been 30 years since Jingsi aphorisms were published, and numerous people have been impacted by these words of wisdom. To celebrate the 30th anniversary, a seminar was held where educators shared how these short phrases have changed their lives. Let's take a look.
During the Jingsi aphorism 30th anniversary seminar, educators share how these words of wisdom have impacted their life.
Once the students did not receive good grades on an exam, I got angry and didn't want to eat lunch. Then one of the students slipped me a note that said, "Teacher, giving vent to anger is temporary insanity." I thought, yes, I am insane, so what? Then another student slipped me a note that said, "Teacher, getting angry is actually punishing ourselves for the mistakes of others." I thought, yes, and still did not want to deal with the students. Then the class leader slipped me a note that said, "Being angry is a manifestation of weakness and incompetence." It dawned on me, yes, the master said, it's not the student who can learn, it's the teacher who have not found a way. These are notes that I saved, which I took about 21 years ago. The master said there are 3 qualities to have for getting things done. One is to have the heart of a child. Second is to have the patience of a camel. And the third is the courage of a lion. The heart of a child means having a compassionate heart. And the second is that if this good deed is taking a long time to complete, I will practice patience much like a camel would to complete it. And third, if someone isn't feeling confident or wants to compete with me, I'll be courageous like the lion and do my best.
Penghu's Zhongshan Elementary has also set up a Jingsi Reading Center at the newly built campus.
We call this place the multi-purpose classroom because when we need it for reading, we can place the Jingsi folding tables and chairs for everyone to use. And when we need to use the space for activity, the tables and chairs can be easily put away.
As the power of Jingsi aphorisms influence the school campus, the words of wisdom also continue to play a role in purifying people's hearts, while also being a stabilizing force in society.
Over 1,300 recycling volunteers gathered at the Xingdian Jingsi Hall on November 20th for a year-end ceremony with Master Cheng Yan. Tzu Chi volunteer Su Mingshou was there to tell everyone her reflection on doing recycling for the past 20-odd years, and also her husband's miraculous transformation. Let's take a look.
I have shorter legs, so I'm short, and I must sit forwards.
Tzu Chi volunteer Su Mingshou is not tall, but she drives a 3.5-ton truck to do recycling. She used to run a breakfast eatery, but after having contact with the volunteers who collected the recyclables at her eatery, she joined their rank. But her husband, Chen Binghong, objected to it.
He'd become angry, and what would he do? He would kick the recyclables everywhere.
When we went to their eatery to collect the recyclables, her husband was like a demon staring at me, as though we were stealing things from them.
After driving the recycling truck for years, volunteer Su was able to touch her husband Chen Binghong, who even sold their family sedan to buy another recycling truck. However, he died of oral cancer in 2014. Su meanwhile upholds her husband's will of doing the recycling, and for 20-odd years, she has never backed down.
He told me not to stop the recycling mission because he'll come again and join me in Tzu Chi and do recycling.
The plastic bottles are formed in the shape of heart. Tzu Chi volunteers, young and old, have been doing recycling for almost 30 years because they care about the earth and their descendants.
30年前啦，就讲唔免拍呼啊声啦，双手来做环保啦，粪扫变黄金啦，黄金变爱心，爱心化清流，清流呢洗全球。
The master gives blessings to the recycling volunteers at this year-end ceremony. Everyone will walk on the Bodhisattva path together.
In Taiwan, the first certified Tzu Chi commissioner in Taoyuan is 64-year-old Yang Jingxue. When she was certified, she was only 19 years old. Seeing others people's hardship has made Yang determined to walk the Bodhisattva path. She even invites her two elder sisters to do good deeds with her. After all these years, she still upholds her initial aspiration.
"很多的第一次都让我感觉到我突破了自己。安琪，来，一起进来。
With smiles, she steps into the houses of people who are suffering.
虽然你躺在这边，
Although you are lying here, you harbor good thoughts. Compared to the past, you have really improved a lot. Now that your husband has a job, we feel at ease.
那就很放心了。
Yang Jingxue is the first certified Tzu Chi commissioner in Taoyuan. Back then, she was only 19 years old. Recalling her first home visit, she still feels moved by the experience.
我走入这个家庭的时候，我真的很震撼。他
When I walked into this house, I really felt astonished. Her husband has not had his funeral, and his deceased body was still at the rented house. When I was coming out, I saw a little girl who is about 1 year old. In addition, his wife was pregnant. After a conversation with her, I learned that the family still owed the hospital $6,500 US.
以前的医院20多万的医药费。
Yang Jingxue, who is about the same age as the care recipient, recalled how she lost her father when she was little. She started to walk diligently on the Tzu Chi path. When the 1998 Dayuan air crash accident took place, she volunteered to help.
那是2月天嘛，一阵风来。
Back then, it was in February. When the wind blew, the white sheets blew up and I could see the body of the deceased without a head or feet. We had to accept him because he was right in front of me. I courageously told myself, I am chanting for him today, hoping that he can rest in peace.
亡者临安。
Visiting the poor and providing meals for the elderly, in addition to participating in sutra adaptations. 64-year-old Yang Jingxue has spent 48 years carrying out Tzu Chi's work. She also invites her two elder sisters to do good deeds with her.
用梅花来代表她，她是越挫越勇。
Plum blossom can be used to describe her. The more challenges she faces, the stronger she becomes. She won't back off because of harsh environment or other factors. She faithfully follows in the footsteps of Dharma Master Zhen Yan.
忠贞不二的，
后做到最后一口气，那我很洒脱的跟世界说拜拜，嘿，跟大家说拜拜。那这样子，我觉得就是我这辈子最大的福报。
Malaysian Tzu Chi volunteer Mervyn Young joined the Tzu Chi family because of his children. He has been advocating environmental protection in English for 11 years, and despite being diagnosed with cancer in 2018, he still insists on doing good deeds.
Introducing Tzu Chi's footsteps of goodness in fluent English, Mervyn Young is the best guy.
We asked him to be the guide because at that time many people came to visit. Our Mervyn Young brother often helps to introduce Tzu Chi. We really feel better if he's here because there are not many people who can speak both English and Malay.
He got to know Tzu Chi because of his children and wife, and because of one word from his daughter, he decided to join Tzu Chi.
My daughter said, "Dad, don't follow us. You are not a Tzu Chi volunteer, and we are all Tzu Chi volunteers. Only you are not a Tzu Chi volunteer."
After he joined Tzu Chi, the children would go to him whenever they have questions. This is how they communicate with each other.
In December last year, Mervyn Young was diagnosed with cancer. After chemotherapy, he insisted on making the time to share his experience on doing recycling.
He wore a mask, yet he still insisted on showing the best of himself in front of us. Every time when he presents, he stands out with great spirit and confidence. I was really touched when I saw that.
Sometimes I seize this opportunity to share with others. See, even though I have this problem, I still can do recycling. I want to share my experience with more people.
Coexisting with the illness, he now cherishes the opportunity to devote himself more.
In Tainan, a man called Mr. Luan is living alone and grows with sarcomas all over his body. His home has been very filthy but refused Tzu Chi volunteers to clean it. He finally asked for help because his bed was broken. Tzu Chi volunteers and his neighbors came together to clean his house while replacing his bed.
57-year-old Mr. Luan suffers from hereditary disease. Sarcoma grew all over his body, and he is not very mobile. He needs a mobility scooter to go out. However, he always refuses people's help until his bed has already slanted to one side because Mr. Luan is tall. When he turns under the bed, it will create some noise.
We asked for help in our online chat room, and quickly we found a second-hand bed.
While replacing his bed, Tzu Chi volunteers also clean up his home. They clean away a lot of dust from his home. When Wang Yumei knew there was a chance to volunteer, he signed up on the internet immediately.
The air was bad with a lot of dust, but after we cleaned up his home, it looks brand new again.
His neighbor, Mr. Zheng, also came to help deliver the bed.
Normally, I help him when you are not here. I replace light bulbs or do other work for him. Why do I help him? Because I have nothing else to do.
Volunteers placed the new bed, covered it with a clean straw mat, and finally fixed it by screws. Mr. Wang now can live comfortably with the new bed. This is his best return to the volunteers.
It's very good and comfortable.
70-year-old Mrs. Lin lives in Taichung's Taiping district and is a Tzu Chi care recipient. She suffered a stroke and is reliant upon her husband and social workers for her daily care. Recently, volunteers helped clean the home so that the couple have a safe environment to live in.
At the beginning, he was reluctant to throw out a few items.
I brought back things that I thought were useful, and now this stuff clutters up all the rooms.
There are some consumables for previous work, and some other things like faucets.
Mr. Lin worked as a plumber and collected lots of these items and brought them back home to repair, but was left with a stockpile. Ms. Lin suffered a stroke and has been bedridden for many years. She is a Tzu Chi care recipient in Taichung and just had surgery.
She has a very big sore in her tailbone. Cleaning this room for her will help reduce the change of wound infection.
After seeing Auntie's injury and smelling the odor of this elderly gentleman, we thought that this is not a healthy living environment for both of them.
Volunteers put great effort into sorting what is to be discarded and what should remain as they carefully consulted the homeowner.
The bedroom was crammed with things that no room left. There were lots of extension cords, which were actually quite dangerous.
After cleaning the home, volunteers found 2 beds, which were put in the bedroom as they hope that this elderly woman can have a clean and healthy home when she is discharged from the hospital.
Mr. Tsai is a Tzu Chi care recipient living alone in Yunlin County, Taiwan. He had a surgery at the end of October, and his house has not been cleaned for years. Tzu Chi volunteers and some students from the nearby Donghe Junior High School came together to clean his house.
10 students from Donghe Junior High School take up brooms, shovels, or plastic bags and come to Mr. Tsai's home with a smile. Mr. Tsai's home has not been cleaned out for over a decade, so everywhere is filled with garbage and dust. But it does not deter these students. They start to clean up his home under the guidance of Tzu Chi volunteers. A girl squats down with a broom to sweep out the garbage from under the bed. Some students take up the abandoned furniture from his house.
This will allow the grandpa to live more peacefully, healthily, and happily.
The homeowner lives alone and is not able to clean his house. We came together to help him and feel that it is a kind of affinity and blessing.
It is rare to have these students, who are from underprivileged families, come to help. They have received others' help before and take the chance to give back to society.
I hope that through this event, the students are able to cherish their blessings and learn to be appreciative.
I haven't cleaned my home for years. Today they came to clean my home for me, so I'm very grateful for all of them. Thank you very much.
Through everybody's cooperation, only within a whole morning does Mrs. Tsai's home become clean. The most important thing is that these students learn to contribute and cherish their own blessings.
A group of Chishaos went to conduct a house cleaning in Sanchong as part of their humanitarian class. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you and goodbye.